Hello everyone, today I'll be doing a solo flawless dungeon on the Grasp of Avarice with Hunter. For my subclass, I'll be using top tree with marksman's dodge. For my kinetic, I'll be using biting winds bow with the plug one adapt fusion rifle, and for heavy, I'll be using the power of lament. For my helmet, I'll be using double sword ammo finder mobility with taking charge. For the gauntlets, I'll be using supercharge overload bow with 10th recovery. For my exotic, I'll be using 6 coyote with concussive dampener, loosen blade arc resistance with 10 mobility. For the legs, I'll be using powerful friends, sword scavenger, 10th recovery, and arc mod I'm forced to use, along with the passive guard, 5 recovery, and a void mod to reduce class ability cooldown when using your class ability. So I'll be switching armor for the maze and also the pirate room. For the chest plate, I'll be using 10 mobility, double arc resistance, striking light. For the exotic, I'll be using stompies with 10 mobility, enhanced sword scavenger. So the Sparrow I'll be using is from Crimson last year, the IVC-10. Here are the mods this Sparrow has. I don't have always on time exotic. I highly recommend to use a micro mini, and of course with these similar mods. For this week, I decided to go for Hunter, and for the first section, there will be many waves of infinite ads, solar wizards, and a couple of fallen and shanks. You will have to defeat as much ads as you can so they can give you a perk buff, or I would say a mod, where you collect these glowy engrams, which is called the Burden by Riches, which you need to go near the crystal in the cave to go to the next section. Now for this first room, you need about 50 of the Burden by Riches, or in other words, the glowy engrams. Now let me just tell you, when you are collecting these glowy and riches engrams, right, there is a 30-second timer, right? And it resets every time you collect one. Now you must go near the crystal, not melee it, which I accidentally thought I had to melee it, for the perk to go away. If it does reach to 0, then you will be in death and you will have to start all over again. You're solo flawless. So basically throughout this entire room, clear down the ads as much as you can and make sure you can get about 50 of the Burden of Riches engrams. Now another thing you notice is my super I keep having my super over and over. So every time you get 10 in riches or the 10 glowy engrams, let's just make it very simple, you'll get your super back. So basically you can spam your super as much as you can as long as you collect about 10 engrams, and you can just clear down ads very quickly. And of course I was just staying there, and then we can go to the next section. Now this section is just a mini maze where for the power of the hunter you can just turn invisible. So you could just turn invisible and then just proceed to the next section. Once you pass through this acolyte cave, then you can switch to stompies. Highly recommend to use stompies at this maze or this puzzle maze. It will make your life easier, especially for hunters, since we all know that hunter jumps isn't the best. Let's just be perfectly honest. Now when you are using the power of stompies, and with a sword, it could be any sword, doesn't have to be lament. Now you can jump more freeable, if that's a word, and you can deal with the puzzle. Now there are devices where you can see here, where in the middle of the room you flip the switch and make sure you go press buttons in the floor where it can one-shot you and you'll have to start all over again. So once I got one device, I go back here. You don't touch the lever from this section, you must jump from the left side and then proceed to the other puzzle. So you must jump up here, especially for Hunter, and then you can go up to the next section where you have to go through a tunnel, and there are about 6 tunnels, but the main one you will have to go is at the far right side. So for stompies, you can just use one jump, one light swing for the sword, and then you can go up here, go on this ledge up here from the right, and then you can go jump on this platform from the right, by the way, because there's a button on the floor which you do not want to press, and then move forward and use the power element. There's a switch you must activate, and then there'll be another maze with the water. You must go swing, jump, and then go jump again, and then light swing again with Hunter. Then you must go up over here, and then turn left side, and there will be a switch over here. Go back, down, and then there will be a shrieker from the middle of the room, and you can just use the power of a bow or a sniper if you wish to take down the shrieker. Once you take down the shrieker, you can jump from the other edge, as you can see here, and then once again it's jump, light swing, and jump. Then you can just go take down the Arc Knight. Usually in Master Mode, they will have an Arc Shield, just to let everyone know if people are like very curious. And just to let everyone know, yes, I said that again, there is no requirement to get the emblem for Solo Flawless on Master version. Only the normal version, which I'll be talking about that later on. So once we do activate the switch, you jump over here, and always light swing, jump, light swing for the Hunter, especially using the Stompies. Now you can take down the Arc Knights and Acolytes, but if you don't really feel like it, just go through this door, and then we're going to the last section, maze, for now, which we have to activate all these switches and deal with mini solar wizards. And for this puzzle is very simple. You will have to activate switches, and it will tell you in the map where over here it says you activated number 3. So you go to number 3, but as you guys see here, there are acolytes which I want to take down. And always remember there are around 3 solar wizards in this room, so make sure you go to number 3. So it's 1 and then 3, and you can take down a couple ads here, and then there will be a switch around here. You can use your super, by the way, if you want to, or if you don't really want to clear down ads, then you can just turn invisible, activate the switch, and then move on. So here there is a switch. You can see here it goes to number 1. So now it's going to be number 1. So we will have to go to room number 1, my bad. And then we can clear down a couple ads, and we'll go to the last switch. So basically throughout this room there will be switches. You just have to jump to rooms, activate the switch, and then number 2 will be the last one, which there will be a fallen carrying this cannon, which you need to use to activate the switch to open to the next section. So you can see at the number 2 right up ahead, there will be a fallen carrying a cannon, a scorch cannon, and you must take him down because we will need that to open the next room. Once you pick up the scorch cannon, you go to number 4. And then this is when you need to activate the switch. Now I do highly recommend to hold the R2 button and then just wait for a couple seconds until you see a flash, as you can see here. Then there will be a barrel which you immediately must turn left or right. Now just to let everyone know, you can jump over the barrel, but I wouldn't recommend it. I did it accidentally panic mode 2 times. It's not reliable. So once we do make it and pass the burrow of death, you can go around here You can drop the Scorch Cannon, or you could keep it to clear down the Acolytes. It is your choice. And now you can switch to your DPS build for the first phase. Now the first phase is going to be pretty simple. First things first, you must switch your loadout, and then there will be a flag which you can get your ammo and your super, etc. Now just like the previous section, remember those glowy engrams? Yeah, so it's basically going to be the same thing, except for this boss room we're going to have an ogre, and you only need about 20 of the glowy engrams or the riches engrams to break the ogre shield. Now there will be a fallen that will carry the Scorch Cannon, which you can easily take him down. You must take down the Vandal to activate these switches. I did test it out. I was trying to semi-cheat, where I just take the Scorch Cannon and then just activate the switches right away. But it didn't work. I actually had to take down the Vandal with the Scorch Cannon, which it was unfortunate. So once you take him down, then you can pick it up from the bottom here. For Warlock and Titan, it would be the safest. Highly recommend to pick up the Scorch Cannon from the under platform. So for this section, it would be the left side, and this is probably the most safest room. You can use your super, and remember when I said about collecting 10 per stack, you can get your super. You can get your super every 10 stacks, so always make sure you use your super if you have it, and then collect 10, then you'll have your super back again, as you can see over here for proof. Once acolytes or anything you see is cleared down, just make sure you clear down a couple of thralls. Now they do seem to be infinite, and they seem to reset every 30 seconds or so, but then there are times when you are close to the crystal, they immediately do spawn. So I'm still trying to get used to it and see, you know, specifically how long they do spawn. So once you collect all these glowy and riches or riches engrams, you can go back over here and take down the Vandals, the Dregs, and pick up the Scorch Cannon. Definitely take down the Scorch Cannon, and there will be thralls that will work together with you only a couple seconds, to be honest. Then it will go and try to melee you. As you can see here, I jump over it. So you could pick up the Scorch Cannon from under the platform, and you can clear down all these thralls that are chasing you. Now for master mode, it is mandatory to take them down because they can melt you pretty quickly, especially under leveled. Once you activate the switch here, always try to hit the middle of the switches when using the Scorch Cannon, and just wait a little bit, and then once you open the door, make sure you are walking in the middle of the room. The middle seems the safest, where the ogre cannot shoot you. When you are going from the far left or the right, then the ogre can shoot you from his void attack. Now if you are on Warlock, then of course you can pop a healing drift on the corner, etc. But since we're on Hunter, we have the power invisibility. You always have to be aware of where the boss is, because like I said, the boss can melt you pretty quickly. I don't have void resistance, and like you see over here, I only had around 4 seconds for the burning by riches. So always make sure you are aware of how many seconds you have, and like I said, if it turns 0, you will lead a death. So once you collect 20 of the engrams, you can go for the first DPS boss phase. Now the boss can sometimes be a little RNG, where it can shoot void while you're doing DPS with Lament, or it can try to push you off the map. So always be careful with the boss, especially when it does try to push you off the map, or try to shoot void at you while you're doing DPS or Lament, which honestly, it's probably the most unfair thing that the boss can do. But anyway, once you do the first DPS phase, it's gonna be the same thing where you need to take down the Vandal with the Scorch Cannon, and then you can go and activate the switch. To know which switch you need to activate, just take a look at the switch where it's light up or not light up. So you can see here on the right side, it's not light up and doors are open. So we can't activate that switch. And yes, I did show example over here that, you know, you cannot activate switch here. It's the doors are closed, right? You have to activate the switch from this side, as you can see here, and just wait until it goes 44k. Then you can use Lament and take down these knights. Now, if you don't have your super, it's best to take down the knights and then you can use your fusion rifle, etc. Anything you want. And always be aware of how many riches of engrams you have, because if you do have 10, then you'll have your super back. So you can abuse the power of the glowy riches engrams in this boss fight. Now I was just trying to collect as much as I can, and I saw a couple of thralls pushing towards me, so I decided to just use my linear fusion rifle to do as much clear ads as much as I can. Once everything seems to be alright for now, then I decided to go back here, and we collected around 14, and I only need about 5, but it's always nice to clear down all the ads, that way they won't interrupt your DPS, especially if you do leave acolytes. They like to throw fire at you, especially when you're doing DPS with Lament or with a sword. So for me, I would prefer just to clear all the acolytes as much as you can when it's the DPS phase. So once we take down the Vandal, we can pick up the Scorch Cannon and we can go from the right side. So you can see that the right side, the switch is glowy. So you shoot the middle and then you wait for a couple seconds until you see it flash. And then you let go and then you use your super. Remember, and this section is the most dangerous where the boss can take him down from this room. It's always best to stay in the middle, far middle or midway middle, because they're all thralls that can push you, by the way, especially when you're in this room. And you'll see very soon that I did decide to go in the close middle of the room, and then there will be a couple acolytes that will show very soon and thralls that will push towards you. So I was just making sure everything's okay, and I do have charge of light, so I do want to have as much DPS as I can to deal with the boss. So now I'll be going for the next boss phase, and you can see here that the boss's shield will disappear very soon. So I was just getting ready, and it does take time sometimes for the boss's shield to go away. Just be aware of that. So now I'm just using the power element, around 3 swings and then heavyweight, and then rinse and repeat. That's basically what I do when doing DPS. Now you can do the 2-phase for this boss. I was thinking of making a video on it, maybe next time. Still, this dungeon's very new, so you know, I haven't fully tested out other weapons, but we'll talk about that another time. So now I'll be dealing with the next phase, and this will be the last phase for me. So once again, I take down the Fallen Vandals, and then there'll be a couple of thralls. Now you can pick up the Scorch Cannon and then just spam it at the thralls. Now the Scorch Cannon doesn't seem to hurt you, so that's the good news. So you can spam the Scorch Cannon even if the thrall's in front of you. It won't kill you like Mountaintop or 1K. So once you activate the switch, you can go invisible Or you can just go all out with Lament and make sure you take down the 2 major knights. Because these knights are the ones that melt you much more than the acolytes, and you must be very, very careful with them, since they can melt you. And then for master, it would be a little bit different. I would highly recommend to take down the barrier champion and then the arc knight as much as you can. So now make sure you collect as much enriches as you can. I should have collected around 5, but then like I said, acolytes can interrupt your DPS phase, so it's always best to take down the acolytes. The fallen doesn't really matter. By the way, you don't need to take down the fallens because the boss will actually get annoyed by the fallens and try to take them down for you, which is good. This will be the last phase where we can collect the glowy engrams, or we can call them the richest engrams. Now, just like the same as we done it 2 times, you can go around this nice safe spot and you can collect the Scorch Cannon. And then depending where the switch is, depending where it's glowing, you can activate the switch with the Scorch Cannon and then just wait, and then you can use your super. So like I said, the middle seems the safest, where the ogre cannot take you down. Just be aware of where the boss is, and always make sure you collect as much of the engrams as you can so you can get your super back. And then once you take down all the ads, then you can go back to the crystal. Now I decided to ignore the acolytes for this one because you know me, sometimes I get a little impatient and I just want to get it done. So you can see here I'm going to wait until the boss's shield will be taken down. Now you can actually do DPS and then take down the boss. Now always make sure you are in the crystal and have all the engram and rich to be taken away, because there will be a time where you forgot and then you could do DPS and then the enriched engrams can kill you, and we don't want that to happen. That's just something that really annoyed me at the boss fight, which I will talk about that another time. A mini rant for that, but later. Now this is gonna be the section where I despise, where you're either gonna love this or you're gonna hate it. Now if you don't have the always on time exotic Sparrow, then you're gonna have a hard time and you're gonna get annoyed. And if you do have it, then this is easy peasy. Now I don't have the exotic, so I had to do a little different method. Now you can also use rockets, or you can use Stasis Hunter to spam melee the fallens, or you can use a legendary rocket with tracking. Now you must be very, very careful here because the fallens are very aggressive, and you can see here my Sparrow got destroyed and I had to keep going. There is a switch from the right side, but I decided to just keep moving and activate as much switches as I can. You don't really have to activate all the switches. But you can see that using the not always on time Sparrow can be annoying. So since we are in Hunter, we have the power invisibility. I usually just hop off and then turn invisible and then just Sparrow away. And I always have this sword equipped since I have passive guard, and just in case something goes wrong, you know, if my Sparrow explodes, I won't get destroyed. So you can see here, I went to my Sparrow, I went to the portal, and then just made sure I go to the last mine. Now we can actually proceed to the next area. So like I said, the Sparrow, it's a bit unfair it's a little bit too strict because I feel like if you're using other exotic sparrows besides the always on time, the Fallens can two-shot you, and I don't like that. Like, why does other sparrow the exotics, why is it so weak? You know, it shouldn't be weak. And also, this is a normal version. I understand that the Fallen ads can melt you, right? On Master with the Sparrow, but on normal, I just don't think it's fair. Especially for people who don't have the exotic raid Sparrow, then it's gonna be a very annoying section where Solo Flawless can be ruined. And then for Master, it's even much worse, where they can one-shot you, well, one-shot the Sparrow, and it could be RNG. Now for this level. So basically we're gonna play Pirate, and we're gonna go rotate the cannon teleporters. And basically we have to look for a baby servitor, a servitor, excuse me for that. We have to go to these portals and you can rotate it. You need to look for the Fallen, so you can destroy the Fallen shield at the middle up high of the room. So right now I am going to move and rotate this teleporter. It's a cannon, but we're just gonna call it teleporter. You activate this switch where you see an orange wire, and then you can go and use the teleporter to go to each of the islands. Now for Warlock, you don't really have to use a teleporter, or for Titan, or you can, doesn't really matter, to be honest. And right now I'm looking for the Fallen, and it looked like the Fallen was up here. So that's another reason why I decided to use Stompies, so I can get up on these platforms. And if I didn't have Stompies on Hunter, then I'm gonna have a hard time, and I have to use the cannon teleporter to go to this specific island, which can be annoying. Now, like I said, for the enriches for this section, it is around 20 to break the Servitor's shield. So what you can do here is you can use light swings with the power of Lament, and then once you do collect 10, you can use your super and then just collect 10 again, and then go to the crystal. Now there is infinite waves of ads, by the way, which is kinda, I have mixed feelings about it, especially for Master version. But yeah, so basically you need around 20, and you just go near the crystal, right? And then once you collect 20, you can take down the the servitor, and then you can move the bomb or the servitor bomb to the cannon where you can break the Fallen shield. Now make sure the teleporter is at the right direction, and you need a Scorch Cannon to make it move and take down the Fallen shield. And you have to do this 4 times. So before you use the cannon, you must make sure everything is set. And then you just let the bomb hit the Fallen shield, and once you use the Scorch Cannon to hit the switch, and then another Fallen Servitor should appear somewhere. You can see I was just scouting, I was just looking for the second one. Now be aware, and please do not let these servitor bombs go off the edge. There is some weird bug, especially on Master, where if you do drop it, you have to start all over again, and then you could get these error codes. And it happened to me on my solo, and it also happened to me on LFG for master. So just be super careful, especially moving the dead servitors. And to be honest, I'm just gonna call them the dead servitors. Not thinking about it, you take them down, they explode. They're like servitor bombs, right? So always make sure you collect 20, and if you have 10, then you can use your super. And then take down with light swings once again. Just be super careful where fallen majors and the Scorch Vandal can melt you really bad if you are not careful. Which is why I put double arc resistance, so I can deal with this very annoying servitor. Well, this section. So I'm dodging and just making sure I collect around 20. Once I do, I just go to the crystal to take down the servitor shield. That way we can destroy it, and we just moved the dead baby servitor. So I'm sorry, baby servitor. We gotta do what we gotta do to clear down this pirate map section. So once we take down the baby servitor, you're gonna move the baby servitor's dead body to take down the fallen shield. Not even joking or over exaggerating. I mean, if you look closely, that is definitely a dead baby servitor over here. So once you make sure this baby servitor is in the right direction, since it's going to explode and break down the fallen shield, then you follow the orange or red wire, activate the switch, and then you see the baby servitor explode and take down the second shield. So basically, you will have to look for another fallen, which I see right now. They usually glow white, you can see from far away distance. And now I am going to go on top of the next island. Now for stompies for hunter, you can make your jump to the next island. So usually what I do here is I go up here. There's this little edge platform. Then I am in the next island. Now the fallen's from the far right side, so I have to rotate the cannon teleporter to make sure I'm not flying in the wrong direction, because we wouldn't want to use the teleport cannon to fly in the middle of the map where we're not a warlock or a titan and we can fall to the pit of the water death, which that wouldn't be fun. Now over here you can use your sword for hunter to go to the next island, but honestly, if you want to play safe, just use the cannon teleporters. Might as well, you know. So once I activate the teleporter, now I finally made it to the next island, and I mainly like to take down the Scorch Vandal since it does bother me so much, especially for a master. They seem to spawn much more than the normal version from my experience, and they can be super annoying. And they do melt you very badly for the master version compared to here. But then again, I am under leveled for the master, and for the normal be very different. Alright, so I collected 10 of the richest engrams. I use my super since the engrams can give your super back when you have the stack of 10. So always make sure you know the refresh of the riches And like I said, when you collect the glowy engrams, it will reset back to 30 seconds. So always make sure you go to the crystal around 20. Make sure you stand in the crystal and make sure the mod is out of your guardian, because you don't want this mod to be on you while you're moving a baby dead servitor to break the shield mine, which honestly, yeah, about that, I totally forgot about the riches that is near me. And you can see I was moving this baby servitor, but then I noticed the riches is still on me, so I went back to the crystal. And then I went back to the baby servitor. So you can see it is definitely dead, right? Definitely destroyed. I would say 50% destroyed. So once we put the baby servitor to the spot, you must make sure the teleporter is in the right direction to break the fallen shield. Once it's set up, you can activate the switch with the Scorch Cannon, and finally we can actually go to the last fallen. So basically you need one more baby servitor to destroy the fallen shields. And I was just scouting, I was just looking, right? Which is why I was standing still for like 10 seconds. I had to find the last fallen, and I remember for this video it was all the way from the far left side. Mainly I'm just looking, trying to see where the last one is, and I was debating to use my sword to just go over there, but then I was like, nah, I don't feel like doing it. Like, nah, let's just play safe. Alright, so I was just looking at the teleporter just to make sure it's in the right direction. You know, I don't want the teleporter for me to hit the ship or the fallen shield, which I'm not the baby servitor, you know? That would be kind of messed up, right? So the fallen was on the bottom right side. So for me, I always take down the fallen, the one with the cannon. And once I do take him down, I just leave the weapon, the scorch weapon, and then collect the glowy riches engrams. And I just collect around 10 so I can get my super. So yeah, isn't this fun? This is so much fun. Very long. Just to see how master is. You know what's the worst part about this? On master version, it's infinite overload barrier. Well, overload champions. So yeah, that's gonna make it more annoying than normal version. And that means using Lament on master wouldn't be a good idea. But it is a good idea for normal, for this section. Highly recommend. For master, I don't think it would be a good idea. I have to use something else, you know? So once you collect around 20 or almost 20, just make sure you are behind the crystal so you can break the shield for the baby servitor. So you can see here, more ads seem to spawn. And we took down the baby servitor. And now we can just go and move the servitor to the teleporter or the cannon. So once you go down here, just move the baby servitor, the poor innocent servitor that's about to be destroyed even more. And make sure the baby servitor is at the right spot, or the bomb. and you must make sure it's at the right angle too. I was just looking, scouting, double checking. You know, always double check. You never know. Sometimes Bungie control you and put the teleport in the direction, and then you waste 10 minutes of your life. Well, 5 minutes of your life, and it wouldn't be fun experience. So once you take down all the fallen shields, then the cannon teleporters will move by its own for you to go to the next section. Everything seems to be at the right angle, so I decided to just go up, and then we can actually go to the boss fight. So now you're going to be dealing with the most boring boss throughout this entire dungeon. Imagine Proving Grounds, tanky boss, right? With infinite cabals and 2 tanky, annoying majors in the middle of the map walking around at every DPS phase. That's basically what the dungeon is for the final boss. It is completely boring for solo. There is just so much things I can talk about, and things maybe they should maybe do some tweaks. And on a cherry on top, for master version, every boss phase is gonna be a barrier champions with a S. So basically this boss fight, you're gonna be dealing with 2 tanky majors at every phase of the DPS. It's best to take down the Shank and the Captain, well, mini major tanky fallen. I always take down the Shank since I always seem to have trouble with it. And basically in this room you have to clear down a couple of ads, especially if you're low on ammo, right? You definitely need to farm up, especially doing the DPS, because the boss is very tanky. And you have to collect the engrams, the richest engrams, when you take down the Scourge Vandal. So before I do anything, I like to take down the 2 mini bosses. Then I collect the richest engrams. So right now, I really can't do anything so much until I take down these 2 tanky mini majors. Now I took down the Shank, so that's the good news. And I want to take down the last one so I can actually do some DPS. Now during the boss fight, I did have some trouble because I forgot how many engrams I had. So for the boss fight, you need around 60 to do DPS, which is quite a lot. So for a fire team, it's no big deal. You know, everyone can get like around 30, 40, etc. But for solo, for Hunter, you can get around 20 or less. I would say 15 to 20. Or if you really try really hard, right? Of grinding the glowy engrams. The best I got for Hunter is around 25. So it could be annoying of collecting these engrams. And it takes such a long time. So usually you can get up to 20 or 15. And these engrams have a time limit. So if you don't collect them really fast, then they explode. So now I was just waiting for my dodge so I can go to the crystal and then try again. And the thing about this is, since you're not a warlock, you know, you have to use the lament to get a little shield. And a lot of Fallens love to throw arc at you when you are standing in the middle of the crystal. So this is something that really bothers me for this boss room, is for the solo. I think the engrams, the glowy engram, the riches, I think they should last longer for solo, because you can only get 20, you know? Or maybe I can use a Scorch Cannon, right? And then just keep going back and forth and just collect as much engrams as I can. Maybe with Stompies it could work out. Haven't fully tested out, but like I said, this dungeon's new, so bear with me with this. This is just ideas I've been thinking about after I did the run. You know, I was just thinking of other ideas. Maybe I should have done this or that, but still, it's ridiculous. The burn-in riches should last longer for solo. Right? If they want to make the boss tanky, okay, fine, whatever. Alright. But they need to have the engrams to last longer for solo. A little bit longer so we can collect around 30. I would say at least 25 to 30 easy. Because getting 20 can be really annoying. Especially for a master version, of trying to collect 20 can be a nightmare because ads can melt you quickly, and if you are under leveled, yeah, good luck with that. So even with double arc resistance, these ads can melt you, even in normal sometimes. But as I said here, I did lost count it, and you need around 60. And I did mess up my DPS over here, because I was trying to get 20, but then 20 didn't work out for me. You know, usually to get 20 you just have to keep running around the map, but as you guys know, I kind of got fed up of running around the map, of getting these enriched engrams, because they seem to be exploding quite fast in the boss room versus the ogre room, versus the first section of the dungeon of, you know, where Cosmodrome is, where you're introduced by the crystals. They don't seem to explode that fast, but at the boss fight they do, and it just bugs the crap, it just bugs the bungee out of me, where why they explode so fast. It doesn't make sense. I don't like it, and that's why I would say this boss fight for me is boring. You know, it reminds me of Proving Grounds. I like, you know, don't get me wrong, the boss fight's a good idea, but make the engrams last longer, because it's super annoying to collect them, and you can see I did miss behind me, you know? And it could just be a bit annoying, you see? Where you can collect 15 to 20, ads are shooting you, you're low on health, and let me just tell you that for Hunter, the recovery for Hunter is awful. Even though I have 10 tier, the recovery for Hunter can sometimes be horrendous compared to the Warlock and the Titan. Unless you're using bottom tree hard to pack, or, you know, that's a different story. But as I said, you need around 60. And like I said, I lost counted. It was around 15, 15, 15. I'm extremely bad at math, but it seems one more phase of collecting engrams will be the next DPS. Now for the master version, it would be a bit complicated, where you will have to deal with barrier champions. And a lot of Scourge Vandals seem to appear much more on Master version than normal version. So now I'm just clearing down the infinite waves of ads, which is a throw off for this boss fight. Now I decided to go and activate the switch to collect the final-ish for now for the DPS. Now like I said, I did mess up my DPS, Because you can see here, I'm not really using my sword so much because I want to use Loosened Blade. So I have charge times 4. I don't want to use the sword yet until I do DPS for the boss. So now I'm trying to collect as much engrams as I can. And I only need around 10, that's what I assume. So I went back here. Everything seems to be fine. And then now I could do DPS. Now always make sure you don't have the buff for the riches when doing DPS at the boss, because you're gonna wind up going to 0 and then your DPS is gonna be pretty bad. It did happen to me in this boss fight, unfortunately, but you can see that I am abusing the Loosened Blade. You know, the first DPS phase was okay, not so bad. You know, I was happy that the boss didn't stomp me. Usually when I use Lament, it usually stomps me. Now since we're on the next phase, now we have to deal with a tanky Shank and a tanky mini major boss, and it can be very annoying. So I was just trying to see if there's any other angles I can use, but looks like not so much. Mainly like just stay in the middle over here and then just deal with the waves of infinite fallen adds. And I can't really do anything until I take down the Shank and then the major invisible vandal that is walking around and it can shoot arc seekers if you don't take him down. So now I'm just collecting ammo because I need to take these Shanks down. Well, both of these mini bosses down. If I don't, then they're going to take me down when I'm trying to go to the crystal, when I do have the richest engrams. And this is the part that really gets annoying for me. So now I have to turn invisible and then try to see if I can get this Shank. So I was crying because I had to wait for my dodge so I can at least do some damage for the Shank. And I was debating, like, maybe I should spam the Scorch Cannon, you know, to do DPS at the Shank or not. So there was a lot of things in my mind at the moment. I was debating, I was like, okay, let's try this method. And it was okay. I was sad that the Shank didn't fall down. Sometimes it seems to fall down when you are doing massive DPS. And then times it just wants to be stubborn and just still floats around the air. So now it's just waiting for my dodge again, and I'm gonna try again. Round 2. Can I take down the Shank from the air? Well, kinda. Alright, so that didn't work out too well, so I went back and went for round 3. Maybe 3 would be the charmer. At the same time, I was like telling myself maybe I should just use a bow. Just get it over with, you know. And then hopefully I can take down the Shank. So around 3 tries, I took down the mini tank Shank. And now I can actually collect the engrams. Or the riches engrams. So yeah, this is really fun, isn't it? So now I'm just looking for the switches to glow so I can actually collect a couple of engrams. This one seems to be glowy, the switch, so I'm going to wait for a while, hold this trigger, and then I can collect as much engrams as I can. If only if it was exotic engrams, it would be nice, you know? So now I'm just trying to collect as much as I can. Always be aware of the water. The water can one-shot you. So do not touch the water, even though it's blue when it looks healthy, the water. do not touch it because it will lead to your death if you set a cape or foot on it. Not even joking, I had times where I didn't even touch it, I was just close to it. And then I died. My hunter died, and I had to start all over again. It wasn't fun experience, to be honest. So yeah, you can see there are ways of infinite adds, and they can be annoying. So now I have to look for another Scorch Vandal so I can use it to activate these switches. Alright, so I pick one up, and now we're gonna go again. You know, collect these engrams, 15 to 20. You know, it's really fun if only they can last a little bit longer so I can actually collect 30. But nope, can't do that. They want to make this boss really long. So finally I activate the switch and I can collect as much engrams as I can. It's just so fun. You know, by the way, you have a time limit because it can explode. You know, if you don't go really fast, it will explode and it's gonna be annoying. So you can see 20. I got around 20, 15 to 20 usually, and it can be so annoying. So now we're gonna go with the last one, the last switch. Since the Scorch Cannon disappear, we have to go and get another one. It's just so fun, isn't it? I mean, have you guys noticing the pattern in this boss fight? Collect engrams, go to the crystal, pick up Scorch Cannon, hit the switch, right? That's basically it. And you have to do it 3 times. I would say 4 times. If you do get under 20, let's just say you get 20, 20, and then you get 19. You have to do it again. So basically average, you would have to do this 4 times, by the way. And that can be annoying. You need 60. Especially for solo, like I said, engrams have a time limit. They explode very quickly. You need around 60 engrams to go for the DPS boss phase. And you can easily lose count. And I did lose count at this video because I was just getting really annoyed that I had to collect all these engrams and then they explode. Seriously, did you see that? They exploded so fast. They didn't give me a chance. They just really exploded very quickly. Absolutely ridiculous. I don't like that at all. And it shouldn't be like that. Like I said, they should extend the engrams longer for solo. I just think it's ridiculous. Because you saw there, you know, in all the collecting engrams, you know, for some reason on that phase, they just disappear very quickly. They just exploded very quickly. It didn't make any sense. And that's the thing that can really annoy me when trying to do DPS at the boss fight. And I had to collect these engrams and it frustrates you and then you lose count. And then I wind up collecting too much engrams because I was getting a bit baffled of how fast it could explode these engrams when trying to do DPS at the boss. I wasn't fully prepared, so I think for this one we'll be going for the boss DPS. If not, then I probably need 10 more. So you can see here that I collected way too much engrams and then my DPS isn't the best. So you can see there that it can be super annoying. And not only that, the boss starts to stomp me, which I wasn't happy. Sometimes it doesn't do that if you do massive DPS at the boss. But he seemed to stomp quite a lot during this boss phase. So now we're gonna go for the next phase. So yeah, this is basically the pattern. So once you do DPS at the boss, then we're gonna go back to the 2 mini tanks, infinite adds, barrier champions. I mean, well, for master version, barrier champions, and then a Scourge Vandal, which can annoy you, but can't do anything until you take down the 2 mini tanky bosses. So do you see the pattern over here of why I think this boss fight is boring? It's too long. You know, like I said, it's not fun for solo. I think it's fun for fire team or farming loot. You know, but for solo, didn't really enjoy it so much. And you can see I almost died. I touched the water and I almost died. So yeah, you can see I'm having quite bad luck over here. So yeah, be super careful when dealing with the boss and dealing with the mini tanks, the mini tanky mini bosses. I mean, for that I was being a bit reckless and I wasn't playing safe. And the reason why I wasn't playing safe was I was being impatient and the boss fight was starting to drag on too much, you know? For me, it was dragging way too much. And I didn't like that. When a boss fight drags too much, you start to forget how many engrams you collected, and ammo starts to go low. And then stuff like this starts to get annoyed. And this is the part that really bothered me quite a lot. If you don't take down the mini shank right away, he's going to throw multiple mines at you. And that's basically what this shank does. He likes to snipe you with the arc, and he likes to throw mines at you. So if you're wondering why are these mines everywhere, it's because this shank is throwing it at you. And it can be quite annoying. So yeah, I was looking for ammo, by the way. I was kind of getting annoyed of me just using a bow. So I finally collected some heavy, and now I can actually do some DPS. Unfortunately, one heavy brick fell down, so that was bad luck. So first things first, I want to take down this shank because he's just throwing mines at me. And it can be quite annoying, especially when you're trying to hide and take cover and then this shank starts throwing mines at you, which can damage you, by the way. And you have to be very careful. Now, like I said, there are infinite waves of adds. And once the Scorch Cannon disappears, then there'll be another Vandal that will spawn and have the weapon to shoot and spam quite a lot. So yeah, that's basically what's going on in this boss fight. Oh yeah, by the way, just to let everyone know, I don't recommend you use a sword if the Vandal is near the edge of the platforms. He will teleport and glitch out, and then you'll go to the pit of the water death. So that's why you see that I'm just using a bow when taking down the Scourge Vandal. Unless it's pushing towards me, then I use my sword. But if it's not, then I don't use it because there is a lot of bugs and teleportation dealing with the Scourge Vandal, which I just honestly wouldn't recommend to chase him with a sword when he's at the edge of platforms. Like where I'm standing here, I wouldn't recommend because he will teleport everywhere. And then your Amos's sword will lead you to your death. So you can see here I'm trying to collect as much engrams as I can. And I'm trying to collect them, and then all these ads are shooting arc at me. And then I go to the crystal and make sure everything's alright. I just want to get a dodge just in case something goes wrong. I mean, there are times where I get like 5 or 8 fallens that throw a grenade at me while I'm standing at the crystal. So it could be a bit annoying. You can see I'm going back and forth because the boss kept stomping me and I was getting a little annoyed by that. We're gonna have more infinite waves of ads. And you know what? I haven't tested out yet, but I was thinking like, what if I leave one vandal, one fallen, right? Or 2 of them, one right and one left. Maybe I can stop the infinite waves. I haven't fully tested out. Like I said, this dungeon's new, so everything's new. Still testing, and I'm still testing out this dungeon, so everything's new for me. You know, bear with me on this. So once I collect the Scourge Cannon, then I can actually activate the switch, and always remember to look for the glowy ones. If you see blue lights, then you can activate the switch. And you must shoot the middle. So yeah, isn't this fun? I'm having an amazing time just collecting engrams, and must collect them really fast so they explode. And I missed a couple of them and then they exploded. Alright, so once I collect an amount of engrams, I decide to go back here. Just wait for my little dodge here and there, and then I go back to the crystal to take away this burden by riches, which we get it from collecting the glowy engrams. Alright, so this is gonna be the last part of collecting engrams. So once again, we have to kill this Scorn again. I mean, honestly, I lost count. How many times have I taken down this Scourge Vandal? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I think 10 times so far. 10 times. And probably it's gonna be another 3 times since I wasn't able to 3-phase it because I messed up my 3rd DPS, unfortunately. Alright, so once we activate the switch, make sure you hold the R2 button, then you can collect all these glowy engrams, which they seem to bounce and spawn everywhere-ish. Now I'm going to go and collect them as much as I can. And I had 13. And now I'm just going back for my dodge because I don't trust the boss. So during the third phase of getting the engrams, right, I usually like to collect the orbs so I can get Loosened Blade buff to deal with the DPS at the boss. So that's why you notice I'm not really using Lament, because I'm farming orbs, you know, and I'm also farming ammo, heavy ammo, so I can have enough ammo to do, you know, the amount of DPS, or the amount of damage to the boss, in other words. If the Vandal is pushing towards you, you can use your sword or your fusion rifle or a shotgun. I mean, shotgun could work here too. I would prefer a fusion. Alright, so I decided to do DPS, and this boss was just being so stubborn. My DPS wasn't the best at the third phase, because you can see here, I noticed that I didn't get rid of the riches, and because of that mistake, my DPS is ruined, and I had to start all over again. Well, the DPS. So guess what? Too many tanky bosses and another waste of infinite ads. Honestly, it's official, I don't like the boss fight. It's very boring. It just goes on and on and on, especially if you make a mistake. If you mess up or you forgot to stand the crystal for too long, or you forgot to count, then the DPS can be messy. And this is the punishment you get when you're trying to do DPS. You forgot to stand the crystal longer because you have the perk on, and then your DPS is ruined because you only have around like 28 seconds, 27 I lost counted, to do DPS. And every second counts, especially with this boss fight. It's extremely tanky. So finally the shank actually fell down. Usually he does this, but for some reason this video he didn't do it. But now he finally was able to behave and was actually falling down, and then me just using light swings at the shank. Sometimes that method doesn't work, just to let everyone know. It could be really annoying to use a sword, especially at the shank when everything's shooting you at the same time. Now you can see here at this point, I just want to get the run done. So during the fourth phase, I was starting to get impatient. So I decided to just not clear as much ads as I can and not farm, and then just keep going. Just keep going, just get it over it, because I was getting quite annoyed that I had to go and collect all these engrams and then try to collect as much as I can. And then they explode. Then I had to go back to the crystal, and then when it teleported at me, almost stomped me, by the way. So once you go near the crystal, take away the riches. So turn invisible again, and then collect the Scorch Cannon. See, this is me when I'm trying to do everything fast, and then it disappears on me. Great, thank you, Bungie. You really want to make this boss fight really long and boring. Let's make it extra boring. Let's just make the cannon disappear, so Blitz has to take down the Scorch Vandal again. Yeah, I'm sure that will make it more interesting and fun for everyone to see. Seriously, this part's ridiculous. Like, why 60? You know, why 60 for a solo? Make the engrams last longer if they want to go this path, right? Then make the engrams last longer for solo. That's all I want. Seriously, it's ridiculous. Only can get 20, 25. I'm really, really lucky. You know, in one go. In one go, by the way. In one go. I'm not talking about going Scorch back here and there. In one go. It's very difficult to get 25 in one go. Right? Like, seriously, look at this. I went around the map. I only got 15? I just baffled. It's like Bungie wants you to put stompies when collecting all these engrams. So once again, I collect the crystals. And now I had to do it again. So ads are getting out of control. So I had to take them down as much as I can. And look at that, they're throwing 3 at the same time at me. You know, if this was a master run, I'd probably be on red health already. Good thing we're playing on normal mode. Could have been a wipe already. Because I would have to deal with bear champions. Probably right now. Alright, so now we have to deal with the Scourge Vandal. I always use a bow. You can see it loves to hop around. And it can be very frustrating because you can never trust this Vandal. It is extremely dangerous where you can use a sword and he can teleport at you. If he is near the edge, you know. Alright, so once I pick up the Scorch Cannon, now you can actually go and activate the switch to get the engram. I do apologize, but right now I'm starting to get sleepy. You know, this boss fight is so boring that I'm actually starting to get very sleepy right now. Alright, so I'm collecting all these engrams. Alright, try my best. I forgot a couple of them in the back. My bad for that. Then you stand on the crystal, right? Then you can actually pick up the Scorch Cannon. Now, like I said, sometimes it disappears, as you saw there. But like I said, another method you can do is you can collect the engrams with Hunter, right? You can go back and forth. But it can, at the same time, it can be dangerous. Because like I said, the Hunter's recovery is not the greatest. Alright. So finally I collected as much engrams as I can, because honestly we just want this boss fight to be done. So use my super. I didn't really farm orbs, to be honest, since the boss was on low on health. So once you do DPS, you just use the power element, and there you go. We finally defeated the boss and got the Solo Flawless and the emblem. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!